Okay, so we've made our sheet format. I'm going to use, since we just got through doing um, the intro to the assembly, and I have some brackets. I'm going to open recent. Um, I'm going to do the bracket because it has the configuration and we can kind of step through some of these items. So we're going to start with the basics, and this is the time to consider, do I want custom properties or configuration properties? So if I do things like the author, I can put my name in here as or my initials in here as uh, the author of this document, and then I can refer to it. But chances are I'm going to go to the custom and do a drawn by. All right, so if these property names don't show up, then that's going to be an issue with the file locations. So things like the custom properties, the symbol file, symbol library, those need to be in the same location and need to be pointed to correctly. And SolidWorks only allows one folder to place those. So if I go down to drawn by, then the advantage here is that when I'm filling these out, I can type those in relatively easy. So I have my drawn by, and that would be a custom property, a drawn date. And I don't want to get too far in this. You have to decide the things that are going to be of interest. I would like to put a limiter on that and say this can only be a date. And if we do the pull down, nope, that one was materials. So we want to put in our date. What else would be interesting in the custom? Typically, yeah, there's a lot in here that we could go to. Um, I don't know if the author jumps back to what I put into the summary, but let's go with that for now. And then the configuration properties, because there are multiple configurations here, I would be interested in now having a part number. And the part number for this is going to follow the letter. So I think they had 2 letters, 3 numbers, right? So something along those lines. And it is going to be for this configuration. Now, to start off with, if we wanted a description, that's fine. If we have built-in materials, which we have not, but I would be going back at this stage and applying the steels or aluminums or whatever we did. And because this is the default that I renamed in the last video, I'm just going to go through and apply those, and it's going to tell me not specified. Finish could be things like paint or polish or powder coat, or if it's aluminum, we would go into chemfill and anodize and all of those. So if I just put in something like raw, says that it doesn't need to have anything special. And we need to decide if we're going to do revision control for the part or revision control at the drawing level. Stock size can be handy, but that takes a little bit more in the setup. So let's just go with those for now. And then if I look at the property summary, this is the items for um, each of the fields for each of the configurations, so I can manage those out of here. So if I wanted to go raw on all of these, and then the last one for the Z bracket, I want to paint, and maybe I even put a paint specification in there, whatever the color is. So I want to save that and make this now my base part for the sheet format. So I have not closed the drawing document template yet. And I do not want to save anything in here, but I do want it to be something that is accessible. So we mentioned that I can bring in the drawing. So if I go to model view and the bracket is open, so it's not going to go directly into the browse. That one's fine, the C bracket, and the isometric view is okay for what we're doing. And I place the view, and as we get further into this, we'll be able to generate more with that geometry. So since this title was a description and not necessarily the part, then I have to decide, do I want the configuration name? Do I want, what is going to actually go on here? So let's go in and grab, well, the description seems to have disappeared. So material not specified, that makes sense. So that did populate out correctly. I am going to go ahead and fix that. And what I can do is make sure that it's not centered. So when it gets a little bit longer, so actually this is the title of the drawing. And if we do a drawing number or a drawing name, I'm probably going to want to take that one. Yeah, no, it certainly looks like it kicked out my description. So we're going to go over here to the property manager, link to property, go to the model found here. Now the issue is we have not built this into our template yet. So that's going to be the next part of the process, is to either add this to the template, or we're going to come over here and we're going to start using the custom properties in the task pane, which is the recommendation. So drawing views specified in sheet, or select component or other drawing properties. So the model found here, selection is the bracket. And then if I go with the configuration name, that is going to be the specific, but not everything is going to have a configuration name. So I have to think through this logic of how I want to fully manage these parts. So if I'm going to build a configuration name into every part, or reset the default, otherwise I'm going to end up with a lot of defaults. So I don't necessarily want to do that just yet. So let's go with the SolidWorks title, and that did not generate anything. So even though that was the model found here, drawing view specified, the selection is the bracket, I did a title. I think I want the file name. There it is, file name, and it goes to bracket. And we highlight that, and I'm going to make that about the same size, and then position it. And because that one is centered, let's go back and set it to a left justify so that it doesn't get too crazy either. All right, and then the revision comes back to, do we want a revision, like I said, to the model, or just to the drawing? So let's see what revision this is pointed to. And that one overlapped just enough. So let's make sure, nope, it's not going to let me in there. So why don't we see if we can cut it off there. And there's no item in there. We will go to the current document, and I want a revision, but it hasn't been created yet. All right, so that's going to be my next job. We'll go up to the file properties, and we can also get to it by going to the file pull down and going into the properties that way. So the custom, we could do another drawn by. If it's going to be separate, if we're going to have a modeled by and a drawn by, I can add the modeled to the list. And there is the revision. And if we're going to go by revision A, I've done number sequences, I've done letter number sequences. Now it's just a matter of how you again how you want to manage or need to manage these parts. So that fills out the title block pretty well. And at this point, I need to delete the view so it does not stay and travel with it. We'll do a rebuild. Notice those went away, but I'm fairly confident that they are still there. So I want to save the sheet format. It went back to the default location, and I'm going to go to my templates and overwrite, and yes. And then I want to do the same as for the document template. So went to the drawing and over to those. And I think the other one had the spaces in it. So since I did not put that in there, well, that's fine. It's close enough. So yes, go ahead and replace it. And then the check. We want to open or create a new. And I do not have a tab there. All right, so now our next step is, since there is no selection for that location, we're going to File Locations, the Document Templates, and I'm going to add the folder that I just created. All right, so lots of little steps, but they're all important to the final being able to perform the operations. And I'm going to go ahead and add that to the sheet formats as well. And it returned to there. When I hit OK, yeah, usually there is an escalation elevation request. If you are admin on the system, then no big deal. Otherwise, it'll ask you for user and password. Most of the time, these are not critical enough that it will usually let you just hit OK to those, and it will go ahead and do it. There is a security element there. So now I have the SolidWorks templates. I have my ALAND. It goes in and it asks for the part. I closed my part just now, and we did that with the bracket. And so I open it up. We can create multiple views. So this would be a standard process with the model view. And that all looks pretty good. And so when I hit OK, I get my views. It populates out the group. Let's see if we do a redraw. I have the title, and since we have not named this drawing just yet, it's going to be the bracket. And so this is one of those, maybe I want to put a little more clarity in there as to which items are going to go which way. So let's open up the part, and when I go to the material, let's make copper. And it's going to say, do you want to change the appearances? And we save it. And when I close it, now when I rebuild, I see copper, I see raw. And so I'm a little further on in the process and the group. So the other side of this, if I didn't want to build in, but I'm really kind of pushing you towards the automated part of it, that the data that travels with the part populates the title block. If I didn't want to go to that extent, I can go to the file properties here, and I could put in each of the property names and manually populate those. That's just duplication of effort as far as I'm concerned. So while we're here, let's go ahead and throw some dimensions on this and go into the annotation. We smart dimension. And because we drew in metric and we're now in standard, I'm going to see those inch standard numbers come out. All right, so one of the rules, and that will be the next video, is we'll pull up the list of rules or suggestions, as the case may be, for our drawings. And one of the rules is, if I don't have anything to put into this view, I really don't need that view. But since none of our assemblies have the my L bracket, which I think is still called the C bracket, but either way, it does not have the hole. The hole would appear here and here, then that's a usable view. So it's enough to get us started. And we're going to save this as a single sheet. So this went to the assign, um, and I'm just going to call it the bracket L so that we see that change. And that gives us enough information to get started and have a little more cleaner layout. Do the process of setting up our three views um, and the isometric.